When we come back, we're going to hear from my featured songwriter this week, Garrett Smith. Garrett Smith, just a wonderful human being, helping out a whole lot of people. Y'all stick around. Y'all are going to love this interview. Thank y'all so much for sticking out with me on Between the Lines.
Being in a cooperative means having someone at your side, sharing the struggle and the rewards. As the most experienced agricultural lender in Texas, Capital Farm Credit returns most of our profits back to our borrowers. More than $500 million over the last 10 years. Whether you're a farmer, rancher, or rural landowner, we're all in this together. And together, we're better. Find out why at capitalfarmcredit.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 493828.
Have you decided to build your dream home or remodel your existing one? Mason Building Supply will assist you with all your building supply needs. Big and small, they carry it all. Mason Building Supply now offers top-of-the-line appliances at incredibly competitive prices. Name brands like Amana, Whirlpool, and Maytag with many rebates and, of course, warranties on all their appliances. Mason Building Supply also offers garden supplies such as potting soil, Miracle-Gro, and plant and veggie food for indoor and outdoor beautification and curb appeal. Then get all dressed up and stay warm in their Dickie brand apparel. Dickie jeans, t-shirts, and jackets. Mason Building Supply has it all. Stop by 254 Moody Street in Mason or call 325-347-5899. That's 254 Moody Street in Mason, 325-347-5899.
The Texas sun, a jellyfish sting right on my buns. Been waiting several hours at La Playa for my food tonight. My friends gave up and went their separate ways for fancier spa and some bigger waves. The fish won't bite, but everything in my life is right. 'Cause a bad day in Port Aransas beats a good day anywhere else. Like my old worn out beach house, I don't need a nice hotel. And now I'm sitting in the white sand with a cold rum in one hand and a fine woman burning in the sun right next to me, and life is good. Well, that Galveston mud just never hit me right, and Pensacola's too damn far of a drive. And I never had a problem with a drive-through Round Top anyhow. Speaking of tops, I see some ladies losing theirs. When you're in Port A, it's all good, no one cares. And I'll be sitting in the same spot here with my woman years from now. 'Cause a bad day in Port Aransas beats a good day anywhere else. And like my old worn out beach house, I don't need a nice hotel. And now I'm sitting in the white sand with a cold rum in one hand and a fine woman burning in the sun right next to me. And life is good. Pop you a top and light you a smoke. grab you a guitar and tell us a joke. And we'll keep this campfire burning strong till the crack of dawn. 'Cause a bad day in Port Aransas beats a good day anywhere else. Like my old worn out beach house, I don't need a nice hotel. And now I'm sitting in the white sand with a cold rum in one hand and a fine woman burning in the sun right next to me. And life is good.
That was Port Aransas from Garrett Smith. He is this week's guest on Between the Lines. Garrett, how are you doing, bud?
Pretty great. How are you, man?
I am hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. Well, man,
Exactly how I like my biscuits.
nice and hairy.
Yeah.
Was that now? You have a video for that song online, right?
I do. And fun fact, you're the first person to hear this. Bombshell, I am re-releasing that video with the updated audio soon. So there's going to be an even better version.
Oh,
the one
cool.
you just played will be what's on the video.
Oh, okay, cool, man. That's great. I knew you kind of went back and remastered a bunch of stuff. And it's 2 volumes, right? You have volume 1, volume 2. And
Yep.
and you wrote all these songs?
Every single one of them.
Really?
No co-writes. It was all 100%
Wow.
on a napkin, on a phone, in my head, wherever.
That is so awesome. I've always respected your just your ambition. You have a very keen business sense, and you really strive to understand the music business. You're really good with numbers, but you just keep plugging along. You just don't stop. You keep just pushing and pushing and pushing, and now you have a volume 1, volume 2 album coming out. Man, how does that feel?
Really gratifying, because those albums used to be called A Long Time Coming and Reloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I did those before putting any kind of practice and learning how to really sing a song and really how to produce and all that kind of stuff. So getting to go and redo the vocals, remaster everything, it was like hearing it for the first time and hearing it the way I wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
And so to do that after, like 5 years was pretty incredible.
That's awesome, man. Can you tell us a little bit about the song Port Aransas? Is there any kind of story behind it, or what that song means to you? Obviously, it's a fun song, and I think everyone listening to the show probably has taken a couple of trips and forgotten a few good memories down there as well. Tell us a little bit.
They were probably in my video.
Well, tell us about the song, man.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So we're about 2 minutes in. I'm just going to throw myself under the bus and get me in trouble here. I had a group of friends that would reunite and go to Port Aransas every year. And just one year, everybody kind of got in a squabble over, well, let's go to a nicer beach. Let's go to that beach. Let's go to one that has massages. Let's go to wherever. And nobody could agree on a beach. I'm like, look, we're all broke. So let's go to a broke man's beach where you can have just as much fun, if not more.
Yeah.
And despite what people say about Texas beaches, Port Aransas is pretty darn nice.
I like it. Yeah.
It just made sense. And so I kind of said, you know what, we'll just take a trip next year, even though I had no intention of organizing one.
Yeah.
And I went, with my wife. We went with some other people, had a great time. And I sitting there one night in my living room after all this, I was like, man, there's nothing wrong with that beach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write a song saying that. And so the songs I had written for an album so far didn't really match that. They were a little rock heavy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to write this like beachy, borderline on Jimmy Buffett kind of song for this album, but I'm going to do it. And I thought, man, I don't know, this will be the outlier. This will be the one no one wants to listen to. I didn't know it was going to be the one that everyone did want to listen to. So it was, because of that, it kind of went up and down. I wrote it, didn't think much of it. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, I think it was the first one I got on the radio down in Corpus.
Yeah.
And shout out to RJ Paxton, who sent it to me. He sent me a video. He's like, you're on the radio. And I was like, cool. That's kind of cool. And then I was like, why that one? And then over time, it was like, well, now I think I like it even more just because that's the one that resonates with people.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. And some people do break through or break in with, very serious, very moody songs. But it's pretty rare. It's pretty. Usually, it is a fun song or a party song or something. That's usually what people break through with, is something like that. And for us as songwriters, we hate that. We hate that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a songwriter / artist, you do kind of, and I've had to figure this out too. You do have to kind of take into account what your listeners want to hear. You can't always just do what you want to write and throw out there, even if it is your favorite song. And some people do that and are able to do it. And I'm very envious of those people. But yeah, so tell the folks a little bit about yourself, where you're from, when you started playing music, all that good stuff. Yeah, I know you're an Aggie, and so I'm not going to leave that out, so everybody here knows. I got a daughter that goes there, and so that means a lot to me. But go ahead and tell the folks about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I'm kind of from all over the place. So I was born in Amarillo, Texas,
Yes.
and at 10 weeks old, with my dad's job, we moved up to Nebraska for about 3 years, then moved out to North Carolina for about half my childhood, moved back to the Amarillo area where I ended up growing up. And so, a lot of my childhood is about half my memories are, Southern from North Carolina. So you can kind of hear some Southern rock in my music.
Absolutely.
And, my song Tobacco Road is about that.
Yep.
And then Amarillo, where I got my upbringing. And so, as I say in my song Panhandle Wind, it's where you can look farther and see less than anywhere on earth.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that I ripped that off of the Texas musical because I don't want to get sued, but there's a similar line in that play.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And so from there, I went on to college, do my undergrad, and I didn't actually start at A&M. I did my undergrad at University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, Texas.
Yep.
It started with Baylor, but actually has a better football program, just for anyone wondering what that is.
Yep.
And so we went there, and that's where I met my wife. And, from there I went to College Station, did graduate school. And really, I did a lot of music-related stuff in high school. Not really necessarily rock band related or anything like that, but just I was always musically involved.
Yeah.
And through college, I did a lot of road trips because I was one of the guys who led the fanatics at all the sporting events at UMHB. And we went on road trips all the time, Wisconsin, Mississippi.
Yeah. You went up to Whitewater.
All sorts. Do what?
You went up to Whitewater, didn't you?
We went to Whitewater, and once was plenty. But it's a brutal environment.
It's very
was
brutal.
negative 2 degrees at breakfast.
Yep.
But, we got a lot of good traveling. Well, I graduate college, and it's just like, boom, welcome to the 8 to 5, go home to your apartment every night, that kind of thing. And I was like, man, I miss music and I miss traveling, making memories. What could I do to kind of bring that back? And right about that time, I read Duff McKagan's autobiography of Guns N' Roses, and I was like, I need to play bass, because there were just so many things in his book that resonated with me, and I've always been interested in bass sound and all that. And I was like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Bought a pawn shop bass and an amp, and started learning from there, and then started writing songs. And to put a long, annoying story short, tried putting a few bands together to do country rock music. You know? And I had a couple of really good singers who were lined up to do it, and I was like, this is gonna work,
Yeah.
College Station, we were gonna go rule North Cape. Well, it didn't happen. Everybody, as soon as we were ready, we'd drop out. It got to the point where I would tell someone we had a gig before we did, just to test their commitment to it, and they'd bail the next 5 minutes later.
Yep.
So I finally got fed up, and I always had a terrible fear of singing in front of people. If I recorded a demo, I would lock myself in the closet, make sure no one could hear me, and I would let my wife hear it if she begged, and that was it. Well, anger is not a good motivator, but it is a motivator. And I finally got pretty mad at all the people who'd bailed on me. And a studio was opening in Bryan and said, 1 week only, we're going to do a $75 a song deal. And I had all these songs built up, and I was like, well, let's go.
Yeah.
So I went and did an EP, and a guy in the studio was like, these are fun songs. Let's do something with this. Come back next week. Don't tell anybody in town. I'll cut you the same deal for the whole album.
Yeah.
So that's how A Long Time Coming happened. And it all turned out fine, except like I mentioned earlier, I really didn't know what I was doing for singing yet, because I didn't like to do it.
Right.
So that, kind of jumps into how we started this thing, talking about volume 1 and 2. Once I was able to really learn how to sing and really put the new volumes out, it was kind of like what I started back there, 2011, 2012, 2013, finally getting to hear it come to fruition.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're going to get more into the Volume 1, Volume 2, more into your bass playing and all that other stuff. But the second song we're going to talk about is Just One Look. Tell us about that song, man. Is there a story behind that? And what does the song mean to you?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty meaningful song because I was at a Cody Canada concert at Lake Bryan, and Departed's doing their thing, and I saw somebody walk into the venue that looked just like somebody who had once been a very close friend of mine. And we'd had kind of a weird falling out that was just not very good. And I had always kind of wondered, it's like, if we run into each other, can we just talk it out? You know, because I always thought we should. And so I saw this person walking up. I was like, I'm going to, this is it. I'm going to go talk to her. I walk over to the bar, and as I got closer, it was kind of like a mirage. You realize, it's actually somebody else that just looks like that person. And I got up to the bar, and I was like, well, that's kind of a disappointment. I thought that was the opportunity. And so walking back to my table, I kept wondering, I was like, so how would that have gone? What would I've been given the time of day? And I kind of zoned out, and no offense, Cody Canada, if you're listening, you're still the boss. But I pulled out my phone and just started writing all this stuff out as lyrics. So the verses and part of the chorus were written before I went home that night. And I had a tune in my head already for a slow song, so I just put the two together and wrote it that week.
Having those backlogged lyrics and melodies are always nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
They can bail you out of so many songwriting sessions. Well,
absolutely.
Let's take a listen to it. This is my guest this week, Garrett Smith, with Just One Look here on Between the Lines.
I was taking it easy like I do nowadays, watching the show in a loud, crowded place. And as I was walking to buy another round, saw a face that I swore could be yours in the crowd. And just for a moment, it came back to me, the joy and the pain, the love and misery. And part of me wished it was you in a way, as I wondered just what I would say. Would you give me one day to take back the pain, like we should have done back when we had a say? Would you give me one dance to ask how you've been? Would you just turn around and walk away once again? If one word was all that it took, would you give just one look? Sometimes I think about my memories of you when somebody mentions your name, and I always miss out on the next thing they say, as I wonder the things you might tell me today. You probably still hate me, Lord knows for what. There's only so much to say to a door that stays shut. You're a story of the past, gone away with the time. So tell me, why does it weigh on my mind? Would you give me one day to take back the pain, like we should have done back when we had a say? Would you give me one dance to ask how you've been? Would you just turn around and walk away once again? If one word was all that it took, would you give just one look? One word was all that it took, would you give just one look to take back the pain like we should have done back when we had a say? Would you give me one dance to ask how you've been? Would you just turn around and walk away once again? If one word was all that it took, would you give just one look?
That's my guest, Garrett Smith, with Just One Look here on Between the Lines. Garrett, thank you so much for joining me this week. So excited to have you, and you have, I've always been impressed with your business savvy, your ability to crunch numbers. You try to learn at every single opportunity you can, and that only keeps you getting better and better with the business side of things and with the songwriting side of things. But you have this new venture coming out, or it's already started. I'm sorry. And I'd like you to share with the folks what this new venture is that you have.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Hopefully, having business savvy, I'll actually see some money one day. But
it is the music business.
Music business.
Yeah,
I like to tell people I just wanted to start a business that had a really long name, so it was a pain to write checks and put on paperwork. So Independence Entertainment. I have shortened it to Indent Official for social media and website. But yeah, it's an events business and a booking business. So we try to put on small events, work with municipalities, grow it over time. Take things like maybe a municipal Easter egg hunt or 4th of July, something like that, Mardi Gras, and even use that as an opportunity to book the artists on our roster.
Yeah.
And so I do representation for several artists who are out there just killing it already, and this is helping them get kind of a boost. And it's been a really good experience, especially coming out of COVID, where so many venues have shut down and a lot of artists are trying to get back on their feet.
Yeah.
It just kind of helps people get a little more quickly in tune into this next phase of getting their careers going. So it's been a lot of fun so far. One thing people might have seen on the website is we started it with an event. We did an ironic clothing drive.
Oh boy!
Down at Hippie Hollow in Austin, Texas. For those who don't know, that is a clothing optional lake. So we set up a donation tent at the gates and collected clothing since people going didn't need it. And we collected, there's like 400 articles of clothing. It was something like that, and a lot of money. So
wow.
That was the first one. And now a lot of people are interested in doing it again. So it'll be an annual event. I've always played a show in Port Aransas every spring, and now we're turning it into an annual, party in Port A.
Yep.
Trying to incorporate more events into that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that's growing in the future. I was actually emailing with a venue today about that kind of stuff. So, not to let too many cats out of the bag, but I've had several artists sign. We've had several shows booked. There's one I can't quite disclose yet, but we've had. For my own band, we're actually going to be playing Baton Rouge next weekend and Hot Springs, Arkansas the weekend after that. And I'll be doing a solo show in Nashville, Tennessee in November. And then I got to give shout outs to Charlie Cope, Vanessa Lindbergh, Savannah Ray, AJ Gell, great clients. And we're debuting a band called Chasing Bonnie that is multiple songwriters. And that started like a week before the pandemic hit. It's like, we're going to put a band together. No, we're not.
Yeah.
So that one has been long overdue. So but there's a lot of excitement going on with the new business, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of see the difference in trying to book your own shows versus booking through a business, and it's tremendous.
That's awesome. Well, I like what you're doing so much, particularly because you don't pigeonhole your artists. You don't. If they want to go off and do other things, you're not trying to keep them from doing that.
Right.
You're just trying to help them. You remind me a lot of Ron Avis and Ledford Herron, who were around Ernest Tubb a lot, and Ernest Tubb did nothing but help the people around him. When Jack Green and Cal Smith both had #1 songs playing in his band, Ernest had to threaten to fire them. So they loved working for Ernest so much, he had to threaten to fire them, because he wanted them to go chase their dreams. He was the first one to get Loretta Lynn on the Opry. He just did so much, and you have that same spirit, and I really like that about you. So I'm also, I'll let the cat out of the bag, I'm also going to be signing with you. And that should be a lot of fun. You've got a lot of great artists, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm more than just getting gigs. I've been doing this for so long. I just want to be around good people in the music business. You know what I mean? And you're definitely one of them. And I'm going to change gears, segueing out of the clothing drive at Hippie Hollow. Is next to impossible to do, but I want to talk about Highway Song. Tell me about Highway Song, and why is there a story behind it? Is that song meaningful to you? What's the meaning? Just let the folks know about it.
I love Highway Song. I hate playing it because for some reason we'll spend forever practicing it, and then that's the one song that just gets screwed up on stage every time. And it's a tough song to play. But basically, when I was putting all these songs together, still trying to make it a band thing where I was just going to be the bassist. A friend of mine, he was like, "Hey, he and I had tried writing together, putting a project together, and it just never came to fruition. He'd get busy, kind of like leave, come back." And so finally he's like, "Yeah, send me what you got. I want to do a story type song, like a Steve Miller Take the Money and Run type thing." I was like, "Okay, I'm going to write a fictional song and send it to him." And I had a tune in my head that I'd been thinking of, and I was on my way home from work one day, and I stopped off at Guitar Center and pretended I was going to buy a piano. So I really went to the piano area and just put my phone out and recorded the tune to Highway Song plus the little solo thing. And I sent it to him with some lyrics, and he's like, "It's simple yet really good. Let's work with this." And I was like, "Cool, send me your parts. We'll mix it together." A couple weeks later, I kept saying, "Hey, don't forget to send me the stuff," and never really sent it to me. So when I went in the studio and was kind of like, screw the world, I'm going to make this mine. What I had written at Guitar Center is what you hear on Highway Song.
That's so cool.
That song is, as it was. And it's a fictional song based on a real place. If anyone's ever been to Childress, Texas, the corner of the Panhandle, the cotton farm that my mom grew up on, and the one that my granddaddy spent most of his life working on. I always used to wonder, what's on somebody's mind as they're spending days upon days in a tractor, through the good seasons and the bad cotton seasons. Just there's what goes on through someone's mind. I started thinking, it's like, okay, well, let's take a fictional farmer and just have him think about a former relationship he had. And how there's, sitting in the tractor, there's nothing he can do about it. And I just wrote it kind of picturing that place in mind. And so it almost feels like a real story, even though it's not.
That's cool, man. And you mentioned that you wrote the song basically on a piano. Tell the folks how many different instruments, and you didn't play, not on every single track, but how many different instruments did you play on this new Volume 1, Volume 2 project?
Quite a few. So for most songs, it was bass and piano. There will be some songs where somebody else is playing bass just because if we were just trying to get through the song.
Exactly.
I'm not selfish enough to be like, no, I'm going to play the bass. I was like, all right, if you got the part, do it. But for the most part, I played the bass and the piano parts. The orchestra stuff you hear in the background, that was me.
Nice.
With a computer. On Broken and Smoking, it's actually me playing acoustic guitar and doing the drum beats. And so, honestly, a little bit of everything is at the album at one point or another. And on Highway Song, as you mentioned, I wrote that on piano. I wrote Just One Look, Just the Way You Are, If I Ever Lost You. All those are piano songs originally. And on Highway Song, the producer was like, "You want to put a solo in here?" I said, it sounds kind of like Against the Wind, I guess. Like, Forrest Gump when he's running. And he's like, "I don't know if this will fit a country song." I'm like, "Let's just try it." So I tried it. He's like, honestly, that kind of worked. Let's keep it in. And so it's my favorite solo on my songs just because I did it on the piano and it was like one take and it was great.
That's awesome.
I really like it.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to quit talking about it. I'm going to play it. This is our guest this week on Between the Lines, Garrett Smith with the Highway Song.
this one-horse Texas highway town. You could always stand out in the crowd, but you always overlooked me every single time. Just a poor boy working for his keep. You never wasted any time on me. You probably never knew my name, never had the chance to say. 'Cause you had it all, you made your way, and I had a dirt road here to stay. You never looked back when you tore down that old highway. And working these fields alone, I'd see a cloud of dust coming toward me. I'd swear that I'd see your face, but it was just an empty dream. Later down the road, you came back home. After years gone by, we said hello. And like that, it seemed like you had known me from the start. Like we'd always meant to be right there. You never realized just how much I cared. So once again, you needed something that you could not find. And I couldn't keep you here to stay. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. You never looked back when you tore down that old highway. And working these fields alone, I'd see a cloud of dust coming toward me. I'd swear that I'd see your face, but it was just an empty dream. Every now and then I think of us, how we'd laugh and how we'd raise a fuss. And I wonder how you are, wonder where you are these days. But you and I, we live our own two lives, giving up on understanding why you left me empty-handed as you hit the old highway. 'Cause you had it all, you made your way, and I've got a dirt road here to stay. You never looked back when you tore down that old highway. And working these fields alone, I'll see a cloud of dust coming toward me. I'll swear that I see your face, but it's just an empty dream.
Mason Bank, locally owned and operated. We are proud to support our friends, family, and neighbors for over 100 years of service to our Mason community. Mason Bank, small enough to appreciate you, big enough to accommodate you. Mason Bank, located on the south side of the square in Mason. We are in our second century of service to our community. Mason Bank, 325-347-5911. Mason Bank, proud supporters of the Mason Punchers and Cowgirls.
From folks picking grapes in San Saba to cowboys fixing fences in Fort McCobbett or weekend cruises loving Luckenbach, Lone Star 102.5 has it covered. If you or your business is interested in reaching our audience, call us at 325-347-1025 at Lone Star 102.5, where true country lives.
That's my guest this week on Between the Lines. That's Garrett Smith with the Highway Song. Garrett, man, thank you so much for joining us, taking some time out of your day.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pre-recorded interview. It's not always easy to get people into the studio on Tuesday night. So, and because of the pandemic, we've become used to these Zoom meetings, and Zoom audio records very, very well. And going back to the pandemic, what did you do during the pandemic? For me, I didn't write. I may have wrote one song. I've got to be out living life. I've got to be either getting happy or getting my heart broke or whatever. I really write from experience, and I envy those guys who can fabricate an experience and put that into a song. I can't write a song about sitting home watching, binge watching Netflix and eating Oreos. I can't do it. How did the pandemic treat you?
Oh, first I'm going to say, after Tiger King, I think you actually could write a song about what you saw on TV during the pandemic. But
okay, you're right.
Especially since they're bringing us a second season. But for me, it was, I don't know, it was almost, I thought, okay, I can, be depressed about this pandemic because I had a lot of stuff going on in life just on top of music and work and all that. But I was like, musically, I'm going to use it to my advantage. I'm going to turn this thing. And there's a lot of people in the industry, it's like it is their full-time job, and that's awesome. Yes, there's a big part of me that envies that.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a fact where I still had a job that I had to work, and I thought, okay, I'm going to catch up with y'all. I was like, if everyone is sidelined right now, I'm using. So the way I look at it, everyone did live streams, and we did that thing you and I did with the other artists.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I was like, I'm playing the exact same quote stage right now that Cody Johnson is. I mean, it's a stretch because we all know that the viewership's bigger for him. But I was like, let's level the playing field. So AJ told me, AJ told me, start a podcast. You'll dig it. I was like, I don't have time. Well, a week later, I did. Yeah. And we just did the 50th episode.
That's
and so
wild.
Networking went way up. I was able to network and meet a lot of cool people that I've actually wanted to meet for a while. And had a lot of fun with that. And then also I had been writing songs. So volume 1 and 2 are actually old songs, even though those versions of the albums are new. Yeah. I have songs that I've been writing since 2018 when Reloaded first came out that I've been wanting to do. So we have compiled, we had a volume 3 album home demoed, ready to start producing, and realized there's so many songs now we could split it in half and have three and four if we wanted to in the next year. So
that's great, man.
We're kind of weighing those options, but there's a lot of music, and I know everyone says this when they're putting in something out soon, but a lot of the songs on here, and I've started playing some of them at my live shows, are the best ones I've written. And I played a song called Rebecca the other day, and RJ Paxton told me, he said, that's the Port Aransas of your unreleased songs. And I was like, it could be better. Yeah. So some of them are just for fun. They're like not the biggest quality, but I don't care. Yeah. They were just really fun to do. And then there's others that are like, okay, this could be something. So the majority of it is actually heavy rock with country lyrics, but there are a couple that are, the two really twangy country songs are going to be called Rebecca and Northgate Night. So my Aggie crowd better be on the lookout for that.
That's great, man. Before we go any further, tell folks where they can find you on social media, websites, stuff like that, and tell the folks about your podcast and where they can take a listen to that. Because your podcast, you're a really, really good interviewer, and I always have a good time listening to your podcast.
Yeah, so the podcast right now, it's just on YouTube, but I'm probably going to have it up on Spotify pretty soon.
Cool.
Just the Garrett Smith podcast, plain and simple. If you go to Garrett Smith Music on YouTube, there's probably 3 Garrett Smith Musics. I'm the one that you'll see black cowboy hat, my golden circle logo. You'll see the podcast on there. I am not the one of the baby picture that somehow got mixed into my music on Spotify and Apple.
I love it when that happens.
I'll just go and give a shout out to the other 2 Garrett Smiths out there. I mean, they're good too. So I need to get like a Council of Ricks podcast episode where we're all just at a table. But so my music's on all the platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, no idea what that is, but it's on there. Probably LimeWire and Napster if you want to ruin your computer. So all that stuff, it's out there. And so feel free to look at GarrettSmithMusic.com or at GarrettSmithTX on any platform.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into the last song I want to talk about. And this might be my favorite song of yours just because I love the Panhandle so much. I love West Texas a lot. A lot of people think I'm crazy for that. I love going to Lubbock. I love going to Amarillo. I love going to Snyder. I find a whole lot of comfort in the loneliness of that place. And that's not a knock on the Panhandle. It's just you're out there in the middle of nowhere, and it's a lonely place at times, and I find comfort in that for some reason. But tell people about
it. Would bug me at times growing up. Was just like, I am stranded in the middle of nowhere. But then, living in Houston 3 years as an adult in the middle of all that traffic and everything. I was like, man,
yeah,
I had it pretty good out there.
Yeah, exactly. Which is one of the reasons why I'm out in Brady now. I had all I can handle of Round Rock. But tell folks about your song Panhandle Wind, man. I really love that song.
Well, as the folks younger than me like to say right now, hashtag, if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those if you know kind of songs.
Yeah.
I never really play it live anywhere except the Panhandle. And last time I played up there was 2 years ago in my hometown of Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And go Eagles. So I tried to incorporate as many Panhandle towns as I could slam into a less than a 5-minute song.
Yeah.
I think I hit right up against 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I've harassed Craig Vaughn enough to play it, but radio and it being a 5-minute song, I got no play out of it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of a sentimental song. I was on my way home from the Panhandle thinking about what we just said. It's like, it's one of those places where growing up, I didn't necessarily realize how great it was. And you leave and you learn to really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And especially now, places like Amarillo and Lubbock have grown so much. Yeah. Lubbock is such a hub for Texas country music.
Oh, it is.
Guys like William Clark Green and Flatland Cavalry have done so much out there.
Yeah.
And
Dalton Domino, Flatland.
Dalton Domino, yeah. Shout out to my Texas Tech people too. I didn't go there, but I worked for them and love that place too.
Yeah.
So just coming back from the Panhandle, thinking about Childress, thinking about Canyon, thinking of all the different things that make those towns iconic. I was like, this needs to go into a song. And I guess you're familiar with the Cody Sparks Band out of the Austin area, but I was hanging out with them in Houston one time at a show, and I was like, well, what town are y'all from in the Panhandle? They're like, oh, well, grew up in Perryton, which is a big rival of ours at the time. And I was like, I'm from Canyon. They're like, screw you, man. I was like, and then someone told me, like, Perryton and Pampa aren't even in your song. I'm like, well, what rhymes with Perryton and Pampa? I just did what I could.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it really is. I think the use of fiddle and all that, to me, it's my best country song.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, man, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, this is Garrett Smith, Garrett Smith TX on all social platforms, GarrettSmithMusic.com. Man, I'm so excited for you. What's your Independence Entertainment website again?
Indent Official.
IndentOfficial.com?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, Garrett, thank you so much for joining me, and I cannot wait to continue working with you. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. You just keep surprising me, and I absolutely love it. And man, I'm just excited for you.
Well, it's halfway your fault. I'll tell the audience, Jarrod here's one of the guys that got me started. So I hope y'all continue to like the product. Otherwise, you can blame him.
Okay.
He and Stephen James.
Yeah, Stephen James. Oh man, he's another guy I got to have on this show. I haven't talked to him.
Oh, he's great.
Obviously, since he moved back to Georgia, and not back to Georgia, but to Georgia. That you just gave me. I need to call him. But anyway.
I'm not going to say anything because it would be out of place. But he's got some stuff cooking up that I think would be fun to talk to him about.
Good. It's been a while since he's been involved in music or really just had a real social media presence. So I'm excited to see that for him. But anyway, we're talking about you. Thank you so much for joining me in Between the Lines. This is Garrett Smith with Panhandle Wind.
Up here at the mercy of God and the Texas wind. We couldn't wait to leave, but always came around again. And every time that I come home, it's like a time machine. From the cotton fields of Childress to the speed trap of Estaline, from 4-H and FFA to the Friday night lights, from the oil of a Borger pipeline to the Amarillo sky, from the cattle trucks in Hereford to the Cadillacs in the ground, down to happy Texas, the town without a frown. And now I'm rolling down this highway past the fields of old red dirt, looking farther and seeing less than anywhere on earth. No matter where this long road takes me, I know there'll always be a place that I can rest my head again in this panhandle wind. A silo over Tulia, a cowboy over Canyon, a snowfall over Dumas, and a cross above Groom, and a dust cloud over Dalhart, a wall cloud over White Deer. There's a spirit from that fierce dry wind that stays a part of you. From the red brick streets of Memphis and every courthouse square you see, from Tex Line out to Shamrock and every windmill in between, from a Clarendon highway gas stop to a church sign Instinet. On the road out here, there's a wave from every driver that you've met. And now I'm rolling down this highway past the fields of old red dirt, looking farther and seeing less than anywhere on earth. No matter where this long road takes me, I know there'll always be a place that I can rest my head again. Oh, we start our days at the donut stop. We pray for rain to help our crops and to keep Lake Meredith from running dry. We made Christmas trees from tumbleweeds. We braved the wait at the Dairy Queens, and at night we'd see every star up in the sky. But now I'm rolling down this highway from the fields of old red dirt, looking farther and seeing less than anywhere on earth. No matter where this long road takes me, I know there'll always be a place where I can rest my head again in this panhandle wind.
TSN News, I'm Barbara Schwartz. Law enforcement and prosecutors say they're dealing with record numbers of human and drug trafficking cases along the border. DPS says they've made more than 1 million apprehensions so far this year. Jackson County Sheriff A.J. Lauterbach says his department has had